I ran the scientific section of the FCI conferences for 4 years, from 2020 to 2023. UKDHC is continuing this function and is encouraging and stimulating researchers in digital health and care by running its own annual scientific conference each year. In September 2024, we accepted 9 of the best abstracts submitted for our conference and selected 5 of our members to judge the podium presentations on the day. This paper on helping community pharmacists identify high-risk patients, how FLAG-Me alerts can improve medication safety for people with slight impairments, received equal first prize and was presented by Dr Lisa Riste, a research fellow and founder of FLAG-Me. This research is part of the Manchester Patient Safety Research Collaboration through the Division of Pharmacy and Optometry at the University of Manchester. I found it to be really important because it highlights the problems surrounding those with sight impairments and providing them their correct medications and how this can be improved with modern technology, thus keeping them safer. Lisa, please give us your presentation now and explain how you are helping partially sighted patients to have safer prescriptions in Manchester.
My name is Lisa Riste. I'm from University of Manchester and I'm representing the team from FLAG-Me. And FLAG-Me actually stands for Find Logo and Give Medication Advice. And what we've done, so our talk is entitled Helping Community Pharmacists Identify High-Risk Patients. And it's how FLAG-Me can improve medication safety, specifically for people with sight impairments. So 1,708 people die each year in the UK, and these are avoidable deaths from medication errors. It costs the NHS £98 million a year, and people with sight impairments are one particular high-risk group that we've decided to work with. So what's really important is to understand stakeholder perspectives about why these medication errors happen. And we've chosen to cite this in community pharmacy settings. And what we wanted to do was actively engage and involve patients in discussing their solutions, but most importantly, helping us find ways that we can overcome this for patients and for the pharmacists who are trying to treat them. So the purpose of my talk is to raise awareness of medication safety, particularly in this patient group, and to showcase our collaborative and co-design and co-production models we've used. So we started out by doing some stakeholder consultations with a charity who are local to the northwest in Manchester, where we're based, Henshaw Sight Loss Charity. And they have a tea and tech group that meets monthly, and they look at ways that tech can enable and help people with sight loss lead more normal lives. At that meeting, I met a chap from the Royal National Institute of Blind People, and he offered to teach us about vision awareness impact training, which he delivered to all of our staff in the team. And what we did then is we went on to develop 2 co-design workshops where we brought together people with sight impairments and community pharmacists, which is quite an unusual thing to do. Normally, when we're doing co-design work, we'll talk to one group or another, and it's quite rare that you bring them together. We had session facilitators, particularly to help people around problems with the technicalities of being online when they'd got sight problems themselves. And we wanted to have the first workshop to look at the experience of their issues, and then the second to look at potential solutions. So going back to the tea and tech stakeholder consultations, we collated a lot of anecdotes, and this is where we find out where this £98 million comes from. So people taking wrong medication before surgery, so there's delays, operations having to be rescheduled, people taking medication that wasn't even theirs, people on the wrong dosage of blood thinners, needing additional monitors. And patients told us they didn't want another app, they wanted something different. So within our workshop the first one that focused on what the problems were, identified a discordance. So patients expected pharmacists would know all about their problems, because if you know what you're going to prescribe and dispense to me, you obviously know that I've got a sight impairment. But actually, pharmacists didn't have access to this. Pharmacists, on the other hand, thought patients would tell them, but patients didn't, and they found it to be distressing and highlighted vulnerability in a public space talking about it. And there was also sort of like misinterpretation that patients wanted to be independent, but pharmacists thought that everybody had somebody at home that would help them with their medication. And it's this miscommunication that gave space for errors to occur. On the right-hand side, you'll see a poster, and this is the way that we communicate with our patients what we need them to do. And to me, it's something that is a root cause of the problem. So if you need large print or you need Braille, please tell your healthcare provider. If you're blind, you wouldn't be able to see that. If you're low vision, you probably wouldn't be able to see it amongst the sea of other posters. So the main issues that came up, and I'll go through this very quickly, problems with distinguishing between medications. So pharmacy companies tend to use standardized branding. So you'll see here eye drops. These are 2 different eye drops that look very similar, 3 tablet packs that are all for different conditions. People struggle to be able to access what's on the medication label. So knowing it's their own medication, how often to take it, how to take it, and particularly the storage and expiry details, because these are all things that are vital to people being able to take the medication as intended. Then most people do actually have a problem when it comes to the safety information sheet that goes alongside medication. There are some solutions that are very high tech. So in Canada and the USA, they have a system called Script Talk, where additional labels are added in pharmacies, and patients have a read aloud gadget at their house that allow them to be able to sort of like find out exactly what the medication is. When we asked people what their solution was, they wanted a one-to-one with the pharmacist. They wanted to be able to go through the medication, for pharmacists to be able to make adaptations, knowing that not one thing will suit all patients. Some people might need tactile markers putting onto medication. Other people might need audio or large font information providing. And it was all these findings that led us to develop FlagMe. So FlagMe, and you'll see the logo here, this is the shaded eye logo, which belongs to the Partially Sighted Society, which we've been given permission to use. And this formed the basis of our on-screen alert in community pharmacy. So what we're hoping to do is use this system to identify people with a vision impairment. It then triggers the pharmacist to see that, to offer one-to-one support that will then lead to medication safety. So there's 2 main parts to our FlagMe Vision product. The first is an API, and this has 2 functions. Firstly, it identifies people from diagnostic codes within the patient record. And then secondly, it sends an alert where it finds a match and asks it to display this on screen. And that is the prompt, as I mentioned, to offer the one-to-one support. There's no point having one-to-one support when we know that pharmacists don't always know how to help support patients. So we've created a web resource which collates strategies. And it's that element there that provides the opportunity to reduce medication errors. We've done some testing. So we've done the API integration using some open source pharmacy software called Hospital Run, and using dummy data, which we forced some sight impairment cases into, because it's even though there's 3 million people with sight impairments in the UK, it's very difficult when you are trying to access off-the-shelf open software to be able to have a look and see how things function. So the students who've done all this work on our behalf from Manchester University, from the Imago student software team, have built and created all of the software that we've used. And then we've actually tested the search using the Greater Manchester Care Record. And this came back that it identified 35,000 cases of people with sight impairments. And this is within 5% of the Royal National Institute for Blind People's predicted figures for moderate to severe sight loss. And that represents around 50 people per week. So that's around about 1 patient per week in the pharmacy. So we think by flagging up who is at risk enabling the pharmacist to be able to provide additional support, that we're not adding too onerous a task in expecting pharmacists to be able to work with this patient group. And the great thing is, because patients have been involved, because pharmacists have been involved, it's a very bottom-up innovation that we've created. So it was important that we'd brought everybody together. We have set up as a social enterprise, so we established as a community interest company in April 2023. We know training's important for people that we hope will go on to use this. We've gone on and we've done the penetration testing recently, and we're currently working towards DTAC compliance. So that will give NHS systems reassurance that we're not going to break your systems. And our next steps are, we have plans in place for a pilot, firstly to do the technical integration with 2 community pharmacies in Greater Manchester. And then we're looking for funding to be able to conduct real-world testing in community pharmacies to look at acceptability, economic evaluations, and look at the medication safety impact. My details are on the screen, and I'd like to thank particularly the patient and publics who've taken part in this, especially our workshop participants. Thank you.